too long. So let me record. So I am so excited to introduce you all to Dana. And I have to tell the story because I just randomly followed Dana on Instagram. I decided this year that I didn't care if someone was a Beachbody coach. If like I kind of got into this collaboration mode that I can always talk to other Beachbody coaches. You never know what kind of relationship's going to come out of that. And Dana and I started talking back and forth, and then realized that we're very parallel in what we've done with Beachbody. We have similar type teams, and then of course we just got along so well. We decided to exchange calls. So I'm super pumped for you to hear from Dana because she's been through a ton in her life, which she is going to share today, but she's also continued to build her business. She's a single mom, CEO, obviously. She's been a coach for 6.5 years. She's a 2-time top 200 elite coach, 6-star in her first business center and 1-star in her second. And she has hit Success Club every single month except one. So you guys know what an accomplishment that is. And I'm just really excited for her to share some tips and strategies with you guys about staying consistent and staying in your business even when life gets effing hard, because we know that all happens. So I'm going to mute myself and just throw it over to you, Dana. Thank you so much for coming and spending Saturday with us.
You guys got really lucky this morning because I never have mom nights off, and my son is at my mom's. So I don't have to worry about him running around this morning. I'm really excited to be here. I was so excited to meet your coach on IG. I totally agree that we don't necessarily seek networking with other leaders outside of our own team sometimes, and it's really cool when you meet somebody randomly and connect with them, and we have so much opportunity to learn from other people in the way that they do things. So I'm really excited to be here. Just to give you a little bit of my backstory, because I feel like it's very easy to look at all of the accolades and all of that kind of stuff. And if you're anything like I was, you might just think that's not possible for me, or I don't get how people do that. And that was how I felt coming into this business. When I started this business, I was a newly single mom. So kind of my backstory: when I was 13, I lost my dad to heart disease very tragically. And it was a time in my life where I really developed anxiety. I would have panic attacks. I developed disordered eating habits. And when I was 16, I had a very severe boating accident. I was run over by a boat propeller. I luckily survived that accident, really against all odds, but I've had 9 blood transfusions. I've had 12 hip surgeries. I've had to learn to walk again countless times. And prior to that accident, I had been a very avid athlete. I was a synchronized swimmer. I played field hockey. I played lacrosse. I loved being part of a team. That was kind of my lifeline for what I was going through with grieving losing my dad. And when I had my accident and exercise was taken away from me, it crushed me. It crushed me so much because that had always been my outlet. And so from the time I was 16, that happened right before my senior year of high school. So I essentially went through my senior year of high school in a wheelchair, being known as the girl that got run over by the boat. And in the next decade, really, I lost myself. I lost my identity because what happened to me was something so hard to comprehend. It was something that I never expected to happen. It's not something anybody ever really hears about. And doctors didn't know what to do with me. I was not a textbook case where they could say this is what's wrong with you and this is how we fix it. I just kind of became a guinea pig where they would say, let's try this surgery or let's try this medication. And so by the time I was in my early 20s, I was taking 22 pills a day. I took pills for everything. I took anxiety medicine. I took depression medication. I took, appetite stimulants. I had to take acid reflux medication because the medication, long-term, it just ruined my stomach lining. And so by the time I was like 22, I was broken. I had lost my ability to dream. I had no self-confidence. Um, and I was just going through the motions to go to college because that's what I felt like I had to do. I was going to school to be an art therapist because I had always found painting and art as like an outlet for self-expression, kind of a means of therapy for everything I had gone through. Um, and that spring break, I met a guy and I found out I was pregnant 3 months later. And I was very much so in a party phase. Like I said, after all this, I was just kind of lost. Um, so I dropped out of my last year of college to move across country to try and make a relationship work, to figure out that I was in an abusive relationship with an alcoholic. And so that was the epitome of my rock bottom. And it was kind of my wake up call to, I had always kind of looked at life through a victim lens of like, why did this happen to me? And why did I lose my dad so young? And why did I go through something like this? And why me? Why me? Why me? And when I knew I was going to be a mom, it was kind of this gut check and this wake up call of like, you need to figure your life out. Like, you can't keep running from the hard things anymore. Like, you have to face them head on if you want your future to change going forward. So fast forward, my son was 5 months old. Things got really bad, and I called my mom at 4 a.m. and I asked for help. And 3 days later, I moved across country to raise my son alone. And so my coach at that point started reaching out to me. She was a friend that I had played field hockey with in high school. And she kept saying, like, I think you'd really like these fitness programs. Like, I think you should try Shakeology. And of course, I was not really in the mental headspace to make a change because here I was, a brand new single mom. I was jobless. I was living above my mom's garage to get back on my feet. And just so totally lost, just feeling like such a screw up. Like, how did I get here? And how am I going to build a life for my son that I am proud of? And so that February, it was the same week that my son turned 1. And I was kind of at that place where I was like, I'm living off iced coffees. I'm eating freezer meals. Like, I have no self-confidence. I have no self-worth. I basically avoided people in the grocery store because I was so ashamed of where I was at in life. And my coach invited me to do T25. And I was like, you know what? Like, what do I have to lose? I can do a 25-minute fitness program. I can follow a nutrition plan. If anything, it could potentially help me have more energy, get back to my baby weight, and get me back into fitness, because fitness, like I said, had always been something I loved, but it had been something I lost, and I never really found it again. Like, I was a very inconsistent, like, go to the gym for 3 months and then fall off track or have a surgery and start all over again. And so when I started Beachbody workouts, it gave me, like, I feel bad when people say, like, oh, I have to do the modifications. And I'm like, the modifications are there for a reason. Like, the modifications allowed someone like me, who had learned how to walk again a million times, to have a starting place where I could modify everything and work my way up in strength and become the fittest and healthiest that I had ever been, and essentially prove that everything the doctors had told me was complete BS, right? Like, I have gotten so strong and so fit thanks to Beachbody programs and fitness plans. So a couple days after I committed to my challenge group with my coach, she asked me to hop on a 3-way call with Elizabeth Hartke. I'm not sure if you know her, but she's one of my Star Diamond uplines. And I have no idea what she said to me on that call, honestly, but I was in such like a desperate place where I was just like, I was already looking at like Pampered Chef and like oils. Like, I was looking for something that I could do at home to make money, because I so badly wanted to be home with my baby. And I had never wanted to be at home until I had my son. And then when I had my son and when I became a single mom and I knew I was going to be his only parent, I was like, here are my options. I either go all in and do this network marketing thing and like give it all I've got, or I go back to school, I rack up more debt. I work 2 jobs to get by, doing probably the restaurant industry because that was all that I had ever done. I was always a waitress, right? And I was just like, screw it, I'm going in. So after 3 days, I got thrown in a new coach training, and I started my business with a no plan B mentality. It was like, failing is not an option for me. My back is against the wall. And at that time, I heard Keith Callahan say, you either need inspiration or desperation. And I will tell you that desperation was what got me started. And it was what fueled my business for probably the first 5 years. So with that said, I wanted to ask you guys to think about this, because I think it's really important. I find that sometimes we really say, like, I want my business to work. It would be really cool if I could achieve this, or it would be awesome to make extra income. But really, like, sit with it for a second when you have a moment of quiet and ask yourself, do you have a no plan B mentality about your business? Because what I like to think of this as is, if you don't have a no plan B, even if you have a full-time job and you just want to do this to make part-time income, if you have a back door back here of like, if this doesn't work for me, here's what I'm going to do. Or if I can't achieve this, I have this other plan anyways. And so to me, when you have that back door, you never fully mentally commit to show up for your full potential in this business, because in the back of your mind, there's always a door out if you fail, or if it doesn't work out for you, or if you don't push as hard as you're capable of, right? And that's, to me, a very dangerous place to be in, because you're never going to figure out what you're actually capable of achieving in this business if you don't go at it with I'm going to figure this out no matter what. No matter how long it takes, no matter how many times I fail, no matter how many times I drop rank, because granted, right now I'm a 1-star diamond, so don't go crazy thinking all these accolades stay there forever, because they don't. But what kind of mentality do you have about your business? Is it a no plan B? Like, this is going to work out for me no matter what? Or is this, I hope this works out and I'll show up for it with that attitude? It makes a really big difference. The second thing is having a vision. And I can tell you how powerful this is, because I've had years where I've had great clarity of vision, and I've also had years where I've had a cloudy idea of vision. And it's very easy to get caught in complacency when we don't have a deep emotional driver of a vision propelling us to show up and take action. So when I started my business, it was the first time I had ever had anyone say to me, like, where do you want to be 1 to 5 years from now? Like, nobody in my life had ever asked me a question like that. Nobody else had ever prompted me to say, like, this is your life and you get to decide, right? I had always thought that my life was decided by the things that I went through and the trauma that preceded it, right? And then my life was just a reaction to whatever happened to me. Like, that happened to me from the time I was young. And when I came into this business, it was like, what do you want to do? Like, what do you want to do with your life? And it was so profound to me. And so I created this vision board, and I was like, I want to build a full-time income. I want to be home and present with my son. I want to, empower myself and show people I'm an overcomer and show them that they can do the same thing. And I had this clarity of what that looked like for me. And that was what drove my action. Like, I don't know how to put this into words, but like, the first time our team hit elite, it was not because I planned to be an elite team. It was because I was so focused on pouring my time and energy into serving people, helping customers, bringing on coaches, passing the torch of vision to them, getting them into Success Club activity. And it just kind of happened. And then I was like, oh, we could be an elite team this year. And when we achieved that, I went to Summit that year and I looked around and I kind of thought, like, this is crazy. Like, I'm a single mom that has a messy bun and yoga pants all of the time that just likes helping people on the internet. And like, here I am standing on stage being in the top 0.1% of the company. And it was this like weird feeling of like, how did I get here? Right. So it was humbling, really. It's humbling. It's humbling, the potential that you have to drastically change your life in this business when you have a clarity of vision and a purpose. And so on the flip side of that, I'll kind of fast forward. The last 2 years, I have been struggling a lot health-wise. About 2.5 years ago, I got put in the Lift 4 test group. And about 3 weeks into that group, I started having brain fog, dizzy spells, chest pain. I had a neck injury. And like, I basically went bedridden overnight, which granted, I've figured out over the course of 2 years that I had Epstein-Barr virus, I have hormonal imbalances, adrenal fatigue, all of these things that I think just the stress of life and the stress of the things that I had been through and the stress of going through a custody battle, the 2 years that we were pushing for elite, my body just kind of tanked and it shut down. And so through these 2 years, and prior to this happening, I had lost a few of my best leaders on my team, and I internalized that as, maybe I'm not good enough, and maybe I'm not meant to be a leader, and maybe I can't really do big things in this business, and maybe my success was just kind of short-lived, right? Like, we internalize our failures, unfortunately. And so I had all of this health stuff going on, and I felt like a failure as a leader. And I had already achieved everything I first set out to do when I started my business. I built it to full time. I have the time freedom to be present with my son. And having no vision or not setting a new vision is a very dangerous place to be in, because you get complacent and you don't even realize it. And you start to lose your connection to the purpose, and you start to feel like a failure, and that self-doubt creeps back in, and then you start thinking, well, how do I feel? Like, how do I struggle with self-doubt again when I've achieved all these things? Like, it's this weird warp almost. Like, you were running so fast, and then when you slow down and you lose vision, all that shit comes back. Like, it's not like I guess I had this kind of naive thing of thinking, like, once I get to this certain place of self-confidence, I'll never feel self-doubt again. And that's just not true. But I find that when I lack clarity of vision, I feel that self-doubt 10 times more, because I'm focusing so much on myself rather than focusing on helping everyone else and serving everyone else and showing up for a bigger purpose, right? Yeah, new level, new devil. It's totally true, because when you've hit those achievements, those high accolades, and then life falls apart, or you get sick, or something happens in your family, or you lose leaders in this business, which is inevitable that it's going to happen, how are you going to bounce back, right? Like, that was one of my biggest lessons, is like, I could have probably thrived a whole lot more the last 2 years if I didn't get stuck so much in overthinking and telling myself stories. So with sharing that with you, I want to ask you this. What story are you telling yourself about your business? Because the story that I told myself the first 5 years of my business was, I'm going to be this badass, empowered single mom that overcame trauma and physical injury and abuse. And I'm going to build a business and a team that I am proud of, and a life that I am, in love with. And then I faced personal hardship and business hardship. And the story that I told myself was, I'm not a good leader anymore. I'm a failure. I don't have anything to offer people anymore. Maybe success to the level that I want isn't that I'm not capable of that, right? And so the thing that had to shift for me in the last year, I will tell you that kind of November of last year was like my line in the sand, was what I did was I committed to getting a therapist. No shame in talking to somebody. If you're going through tough life stuff and you need a third party to talk to things about, like, I'm a big advocate of it. Like I said, I've struggled with anxiety and depression my entire life, and I'm a recovering perfectionist. I want people to think that I have it figured out all of the time. I don't like admitting when I'm struggling. I don't like asking for help. I want to be the one to figure it all out, right? But that doesn't serve you sometimes. Sometimes you need to ask for help. You need to learn to lean on people. You need to learn to lean on your team and ask them for help and be honest and vulnerable of where you're at. So I committed to getting a therapist, number one. Number two was I took an evaluation of, like, where am I at right now in my life and my business? And I think this is really important, like editing your life, editing it with brutal honesty, right? Because it doesn't work without honesty. Is, what habits do I have right now that are serving me? And what ones need to go? because when you're in that place of complacency or doubt or not having clarity of vision, or you don't have like really clear-cut goals you're working towards, what happened was you get tricky. Self-sabotage is really tricky, you guys. That's what I will tell you about self-sabotage. It is tricky. I started staying up later at night. I started hitting the snooze button in the morning. I started procrastinating when I would sit down to work. I started kind of half-assing workouts and nutrition. Like I started landsliding in all these little habits that are the things that like propel you forward or the things that push you backwards, right? And so at that point, I was like, I am going to ruthlessly edit everything that I do right now. And I'm going to ask myself, does it serve me or does it not? Because staying up late doesn't serve me. Not having morning routine doesn't serve me. Not doing personal development every single day doesn't serve me. Not showing up with intention to my business with a plan of action, clear-cut goals, and a to-do list doesn't serve me. And I'm going to say this about procrastination. Can anybody, like, who struggles with procrastination? Okay. So Mel Robbins has this thing on Instagram. Actually, she had a video about this, and it was so profound to me because it is exactly what was happening to me, and it just made so much sense. Is that she says when you are procrastinating, it's because you have a habit of procrastination. You are not a procrastinator. You have a habit of procrastinating. And the reason we procrastinate is because we feel overwhelmed. And so I'm specifically mentioning this because here I am going through all this health stuff. I'm a single mom. I'm trying to keep my business afloat. I'm trying to pour time and energy into my team. Meanwhile, I'm over here reading and researching like a nerd about all the symptoms I'm having and what kind of doctors I need to see and like what kind of supplements to take. And the anxiety and the overwhelm can be paralyzing when you're going through hard stuff, right? Like if you're going through something, you know that that can mentally consume a lot of your energy. And so it is only natural that you start to procrastinate taking action. And the only reason is because you're not giving enough space to like mentally work through that stuff and then kind of compartmentalize so that when you sit down to work your business, you're like, I'm going to focus on X, Y, Z, and I'm going to zone in and I'm going to get it done. Because what we do is we sit down without a plan. We feel the overwhelm and the worry and the stress and the weight of life, and then we don't take action, and then we beat ourselves up for not taking action, which only makes you feel shittier, and then you feel stuck, right? And that's what I was doing, and I like figured it out, and I'm like, no more. So I worked on getting clarity of a new vision. I made a new vision board. I set some new goals. I got reconnected to why I was excited about this business. And sorry, I'm jumping around. This is just kind of who and how I am. But what I wanted to say about this is, are you looking at your business like a burden or a blessing? Because when I was in this space of, kind of procrastinating and lacking the vision and not taking the action and so consumed by the stress of what I was going through the last 2 years, and I'm still continuing to go through, I started to look at my business like a burden. How many of you have felt like that, honestly? Have felt like this just feels really hard to show up for right now? Like this is not, you can compare it to some time in your business where you're like fired up. You can't wait to get up and work out and post in your groups and talk to people and invite people. And then you have those times, those seasons where your life is hard and you're not feeling that great, right? And you start to look at it like a burden because you're like, oh, like I have to invite today. Oh, I don't know what to post. I don't want to talk to people today. And so I had to recognize that I'm like, why do I feel like this? Because I love helping people. Like at my core, it's like what I know I was put on this earth to do. Like I truly believe that all of the hardship I have been through has been given to me as a gift to develop the character that I have so that I can go out and make an impact on people. I truly believe that. But I was looking at it as I don't have anything in me to give people, and it is just exhausting to try and connect with people and invite people and share the coaching opportunity, right? And I completely lost sight of everything that this business has done for me. I'm like, here I am paying thousands of dollars in medical bills because of this business. Here I am able to go see a doctor on a Tuesday and still pick my son up from school because of this business. Here I am doing meditations and workouts and having a positive community to lean on during a struggle because of this business. Here I am having a girlfriend to call when I'm struggling because of this business. And I had to stop and remember what a blessing it is. And I hate to admit that sometimes we lose sight of that, but we do. And I think it's totally human. And so I would ask yourself, are you looking at this like a burden or a blessing right now? And if you are looking at it as a burden, I would encourage you to do some journaling or do some thinking about how powerfully impacted you have been by this business, by your challenge groups, by the workouts, by the nutrition programs, by having a coach and a mentor, the friendships you've made, the travel opportunities you have, the income you're bringing in, even if it's little. Like, what does that do for your life? Imagine if you were to wake up tomorrow and Beachbody was no longer a part of your life. What would that feel like? I would be devastated, right? Like, I would be totally devastated. And that's what shifted my perspective back to, like, even though I'm struggling, I am going to offer this to every single person that comes across my path, because sure, I'm struggling in my own life right now, but this is a major part of what is helping me stay afloat through seasons of hardships. Why should I not share that with everybody? And that flipped my perspective into back in not a burden of I don't want to take action and I'm procrastinating, to being like, I have to figure out a way to take action again. And so last November, going back to what I was talking about, that was when I drew the line in the sand. I got the therapist. I ruthlessly edited my habits, my mindset, what story I was telling myself. And then I recommitted to the basics. I don't know about you guys, but it's very easy to get caught up in busy work. We have an abundance of trainings, resources, PDFs, national wake up calls. Like, everywhere you look, there is a resource for something, of how to edit your photos, of how to do Instagram reels, of how to, add value, of how to run challenge groups, of whatever. And that's what I was doing. I realized that I was making myself even more overwhelmed by thinking, oh, I have to do this and I have to create that, and my team needs this training, and I don't know how to do this yet on Instagram. And I was doing that to avoid taking the action. So at that point in time, I said, what is moving my business forward and what is moving the needle forward the most? And I went back to what I did the 2 years that we were an elite team, and that third year where we fell just shy of it. And this is what I did. I lived by the business activity tracker. I had a whiteboard that I had it written on, and every day, that was the first thing I did, was sit down, connect with new people, invite, follow up, add value to challenge groups, check in on challengers, check in on coaches, serve the people in my circle, make a post on social media, right? Do my own workout, do my own personal development. Like, it's really basic if you break down the things that move the needle forward in our business. And I know we hear that all of the time, but sometimes we forget. Like, sometimes we truly forget what it takes to go from I'm stuck and I'm not reaching goals to I'm thriving and I'm accomplishing amazing things, right? And so I went back to what I did those couple of years. I made Success Club 10 plus non-negotiable every single month. I made bringing on 3 to 5 active coaches a month a non-negotiable. And I made it a commitment to show up every single day. And guys, I will be completely honest with you. With all the things that I'm telling you that I was emotionally struggling with, November through February, showing up and forcing myself to do the basics every day felt really hard. It had once felt like second nature to me, like eat, sleeping, and breathing was like how I felt about the business activity tracker. But when you're struggling in your own life, it feels hard, right? But I was committed to showing up long enough that I knew if I showed up when it was hard, that eventually it would become easy again. And eventually it would become second nature again. And eventually it would feel fun again. And I can tell you now, here, a year later, I wake up every day, I make my to-do list, I do my business activities, and it feels natural and it feels fun and it feels organic again. And it feels easy to be in that disciplined space again. But I had to earn it back. I had to earn it back. Like I think sometimes that we just get to this place where if we're struggling in our business or our personal life, we just think, I can't do that again. Like I can't get back to that. And excuse my language, but that's bullshit. It's a choice. It's a choice to get back to it if you are struggling or you are going through something or you feel disconnected. Like you have to willingly choose to discipline yourself again in your own routines, with your mindset, with the stories you're telling yourself, and with leaning back into the business activities. So what I'm going to say in terms of hardship is the power of the pivot. I don't know about you guys, but I've always felt like I needed to like give myself permission if I wasn't like pushing for something all in, right? Like granted, because the first few years of my business, I hit such epic things that when all of a sudden I was in this season of hardship, it felt kind of like, well, I was like, well, if I can't do that, and if I can't hit elite and I can't do all these epic things, then I don't want to do anything at all, right? Like that's the danger of that all in or all out mentality. And I will tell you that it has been the most beautiful gift to allow myself to set goals that serve me where I'm at, because I have 10 times more fun working my business. I've actually developed 3 new diamonds this year, going on soon to be 4, just by pouring time and energy into coaches that I love working with. Not with, elite would have been great, but it wasn't in the cards for us this year because of how I was last year, didn't have enough new coaches recruited to line up for that. But I no longer define my success and my joy in this business based on external validation. And that's a big shift for me, because I always sought all of those things. Guys, like it was make or break if I wasn't reaching a new rank or hitting a new accolade. And by no means am I saying those things are not important. They absolutely are. They are important for growing your business. But if you're feeling more stressed out by it than you are joyful, figure that out for yourself, because what I know to be true and what made me hit those accolades in the first place that I realize now is that I was so focused on the joy and the serving and the having fun in this business that the accolades happened naturally. And to me, that's the best way to achieve them, right? If you feel joyful in your business, you're pouring into people, you're working with coaches, you're hitting your goals every single month, and you're loving and having fun in this business, you're going to rank advance. You're going to hit new accolades. It's when we put so much focus and pressure on those things that we feel like we're scrambling to get them, that we lose joy sometimes. And I don't want to lose joy in my business ever again, because I know what that feels like, and I do not ever want to go back into that space. So the power of a pivot, like figure out what feels good to you right now in this season of your business. If you are homeschooling kids and it is stressful, if things have shifted in your life in 2020, because let's be real, it's kind of been a shit show. Like figure out a way that you can be consistent right now. Maybe it's not what your best was at a good season in your life, but what is your best right now? What is your best right now? Like, what is something that you can set a goal that you can be excited about to show up for that is pushing you in the right direction? Because like I said about the basic things, there are very few things in this business that you actually like that keep your business and your needle moving forward when you strip it down to those basics, right? And so for me, through this 2 years of being sick, I never missed Success Club except that 1 month. And what happened that month was I had 3 people with share carts. I think it was Halloween night of last year. And none of them filled it out before midnight. And on one hand, I was kind of crushed. I had never missed Success Club ever, even through all of those seasons of hardship, of a custody battle, being sick, all of this stuff, right? And then I thought, you know what? I'm glad I missed it. I'm glad I missed it because at that point, I was so disconnected from my purpose that I was just trying to get 6 points to skate by. And it was a wake-up call to me to dig deeper, to get back into connections, adding value, serving people, and reaching out with the intention and the purpose of, I know I can change and impact this person's life. And because of that, I'm back again hitting higher Success Club numbers every single month. And I just hit All-Star again last month. After missing Success Club, I just regained All-Star status, right? So sometimes when you miss goals, it can be a wake-up call in a good way, not in a bad way of I failed and I missed something and I suck and I'm not capable of ever hitting Success Club again, but a wake-up call of what can I be doing differently? How can I feel differently about this so that I can hit this goal with ease moving forward in a way that feels good, right? So when you have those failures, if you've learned anything from this, please do not internalize that you suck and you're a failure and you're not capable. But please look at it as a learning opportunity of what you can change and shift and do differently and do better moving forward, because that is all failures are. And your perception of your failure is what matters the most. A few more tangible things. Working in power pockets. Like I talked about with procrastination, working in power pockets is like essential to me. I have a very hard time for focusing longer than like a 3-hour time span, even though my son is in school, right? So what I personally do that is super helpful is I write out a to-do list. I love the high performance planner, right? I write out my to-do list in the high performance planner. And then I have a little box of sticky notes right here. And these are my lifeline of how I stay focused and productive. So I take a sticky note and I look at my to-do list and I take the top 3 things that I want to accomplish first and I put them on the sticky note. And I sit down and I say, I'm going to focus for this 45 minutes or this 1-hour period. I'm not going to look at notifications. I'm not going to answer messages in my inbox. I'm not going to respond to text messages. I'm not going to pick up a phone call. I'm not going to check my email. I'm not going to go scope out the new leggings on Fabletics that I love. I am going to accomplish the 3 things on this list before I do anything else, right? And then I cross this off and I feel productive and accomplished, and it helps me believe that I am capable of not procrastinating and I can get things done. So it's like confirming that belief for you that you are able to be productive, right? And then you throw your sticky note out, you cross those things off your list, and you grab the next 3 things you're going to do, like whether that's a power hour or do a live in my challenge group or reach out to these 5 coaches or whatever it is. Put those next 3 things on your list and repeat. And like, you guys, that's how I accomplish the majority of everything that I put on my to-do list every day. When just 1 year ago, I could have put all those same things on my to-do list and gotten one of them done. No joke. Like I would spend 4 hours being like, I'm going to do a power hour. And then I would scroll on Instagram and send a couple invites and check notifications. And then I'd be over at email. And like, I share this stuff because it's real and it's human. And I really don't care what you think of me about sharing that. But I think that we all mentally go through these patterns. We just don't like admitting it. Like none of us want to admit that we're struggling and goofing off and not actually getting anything productive done. So this is what helped me eradicate that behavior, is writing the to-do list, using the sticky notes, doing 3 things at a time, feeling accomplished, which motivates me more. And then I pick the 3 next things and then I go for it. So working in power pockets. And I like to now, what I would say is how important disconnecting and you time is, especially given the land of social media that we live in right now. Social media can be pretty toxic and negative. Like, I don't know about you guys, but once in a while I get on and scroll and it makes me feel very sad and very angry for the state of, I don't know if you live in the United States, but I do. And it's like, we have to be aware of what we're consuming, right? And whether it's serving us or not. But when I work in these power pockets and these focused times, what it allows me to do that I was never proactive about doing before is disconnecting, like truly disconnecting, shutting off my phone, being present with my son, going to do something with a friend, going out for a nature walk, going to get my groceries without picking up every ding of my phone. um, I don't know if you've ever watched The Social Dilemma on Netflix, but after I watched that, I shut off every notification on my phone. You can see now the only things that come through to my phone are text messages. That is it. I get no more emails notifications. I get no more Facebook notifications. I get no more Instagram notifications. None of that. Because what I realized I was doing was every time my phone dang, I pick it up, and I was never fully present in my life. I built my life to be able to be present with my son and love the life I live, not to be attached at everyone's beck and call, at every single ding and notification that came through to my phone. That was a wake up call too. But I can tell you that it's been the biggest like mental shift for me, and the biggest feeling of freedom of like, my work is here and my work is here, but I'll show up to those things in focused, productive pockets, and I will crush what I need to get done. And then I will disconnect and I will go live my life. And I suggest that you figure out a way to do the same, because it is the best way to maintain your joy, but also be proactive of like crushing goals and moving forward, but avoiding burnout. Because you guys, I've burned out way too many times to tell you that like it is not a fun place to be, to burn out mentally and or physically. It makes you have to work that much harder to get back in a good flow. If you just become more disciplined of working productively in those pockets and then disconnecting and living your life, you're going to find you're going to have more success, but you're going to feel so much more joy in your life overall. And it is the best feeling, right? That's what we all work hard for. We work hard for to build more opportunities for our families, to be happier and healthier and more empowered, not to be robots that feel like we can't put our phones down, right? And then this is my last thing. Disciplining yourself with your daily habits. And I think I've kind of mentioned this here and there throughout this whole call, but for me, what really it came down to again was getting really disciplined with the basic things again. Plugging my phone in across the room at nighttime so that I'm not tempted to scroll on Instagram stories for 45 minutes, because Lord knows I could get lost in there forever. Plugging my phone in and reading a personal development book at night. I now have in my wellness community, we do a book of the month every single month. It holds me accountable. It holds them accountable to personal growth. Everybody is loving it. I'm seeing a mental shift with everyone. This month we are reading Stop Doing That Shit, which is all about self-sabotage. If you've never read it, it's by the author of Unfuck Yourself. You should read it. It's amazing. Both of those books are amazing. But I sit and I read my personal development book for 20 minutes before I go to bed every night, which helps me feel and then I go to bed on time, which makes me wake up feeling more alert and energized and motivated and in a good mental headspace, right? And then I have a very simple morning routine. I meditate first thing in the morning. I get my son up. I get him ready for school because I work from home. I drop him off. I come home. I, read like a daily devotional and affirmation. I write in a gratitude journal. I pull an intention card. I kind of set my intention for the day, and then I plan my to-do list. And it's very simple. It doesn't take me a ton of time. I am never going to be one of those 5 a.m. people. It is just not who I am. I have tried. You have to find a routine that makes you feel good and put yourself first, right? Most of us, the reason that we fell in love with all of this and said we wanted to start coaching was because we were putting ourselves first. We were fully committed to nutrition, to fitness, to personal growth, to feeling good and energized and inspired and confident and motivated and like, I can take over the world because I feel so great and I just want to tell everybody else about this too, right? And then sometimes we lose sight of that, whether it's life or business or things get overwhelming. And so for me, it was like, strip it back down to the basics of taking care of myself, because when I take care of myself, I am a happier, more patient mom. I am a better leader. I have more to offer. I have more mental clarity to share the things that I want to share with people, and I show up more productively in my business. Like, it is a night and day difference if I stay up too late and I don't read PD and I don't have a morning routine, of how unproductive I am that day in my business, versus when I'm disciplined with those very simple things. I am in a good mental space, I have good energy, and I like can show up and be super productive. So that is my last thought for you, is to look at the habits you have daily. What are the ones that are serving you? What are the ones that are not? And what are some simple shifts that you can make to be disciplined to feel your best? I know a lot of people don't like the word discipline because it feels limiting and like whatever. I look at discipline like it's freedom. Discipline is freedom. It is freedom in business. It is mental and emotional freedom. It is freedom physically. Like, when you have disciplined habits that help you feel your best and help you show up the best in your business, you then have freedom, because you are not constantly overthinking and beating yourself up, and I wish I would have done this and I should have done that, and it basically gets rid of all that, because you're doing the things you know you need to do to feel your best so that you can show up your best, and that will change your life. So that's it.
That was so good. Thank you so much, Dana. I loved everything, but I really loved how you actually taught. I mean, lots of people will say, well, but I don't know what habits, I don't know how to make the changes. And you actually gave tangible tips on how to pivot when you're in a bad place. And we all get into bad places. Like, that's not something to be ashamed of. It's called life. But
Yeah.
it doesn't mean you have to give up on this business, especially if you know this is something that you want. And you gave us like the actual things that you did to get yourself back into the joy of the business. And then I loved your tangible tips at the end. I'm a sticky notes girl. I absolutely love it. I mean, you have to have a to-do list. You can't just like randomly decide you're going to just do something for the business every day. Like, of course you're going to be overwhelmed. Like, that's why we have what is that thing called? The business activity tracker. Like, that's why we have that, to keep this so simple. It doesn't mean you have to do it all in 1 hour. I have never done it all in 1 hour. It's been like little pockets here and there. And I loved how you ended with discipline, because I know we always want to be free birds right now, food freedom and free. But at the
I'm a free spirit, trust me, but free spirits without a disciplined routine doesn't really.
Yeah, like, I'm a hot mess a lot of the times. Like, I'm kind of scattered, but I'm still very disciplined in these activities that are so simple and do not take very long to do.
Yep.
They just aren't that sexy. No one really wants to do them because they're kind of like, but if you just get disciplined, I was probably more effective when I was working 12 hours a day at the salon.
And you had to be. Yeah.
I was so disciplined then. So I love that you ended with that. I know not a lot of people love hearing that, but the truth is, it's just like your nutrition plan. What happens when you go all free bird on that? Well, I know what happens to me. Like, I don't necessarily want to count every gram and measure everything, but I do have to be aware and disciplined in my choices. It's the same if you have the desire, really, if you have the desire to make $100 a week or $10,000 a week, the habits are still the same. It's just how many you're doing, how often you're doing them. You still have to have those disciplined habits to get to those goals. So I loved that. And then of course, disconnection. It's the hardest thing. It's the biggest struggle for me. I'm like such a people pleaser. I feel like I need to be there for everyone immediately. So it's I wish Terry was here, because I will give him my phone. I'll say, you just have to take this now. I can't be trusted.
Buried in the backyard.
I can't be trusted. I can't put it in the drawer. And another little tip I just heard from my favorite, Shailene Johnson. She found herself in a huge rut during COVID, being like addicted to social media, like just the reels and all the shit. So she now, as soon as she lifts up her phone, she puts it down and she goes and reads a book. She has read or listened to so far since COVID, I think 79 books.
Yeah.
she said this on a podcast. So she's just like became a habit, right? Like I'm sure it was so hard at first. In fact, I tried to do it last night and failed miserably.
I think what it is what I had to personally realize was like, in the hours that I am spending scrolling, or like every time I pick up and I'm like scrolling Facebook, like I'm doing nothing productive, but like my son is sitting next to me and I'm not fully paying attention to him. Like even if I'm just laying in bed and we're watching a movie, like I guess I kind of had to have this wake up call. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm very motivated by giving myself tough love. Like either you love that or you hate it. But like I'm a big fan of calling myself out on shit because it motivates me to change it. But I was like, I don't want my kid to remember me as the mom who always has her phone in her hand because my phone is more important than him. And like, that was my wake up call. That was my wake up call to be like, you can put your phone down for a couple hours a day. And the people that send you a message, if they can't wait, too bad. Like we run a social media based business. And so yes, we could be there at any second of any day. But like when you go to the store and the grocery store closes at 9, are you going to go bang on the door and be like, hey, open up, like you're a business, you should be open 24/7? No. And like, people shouldn't expect us to be either. We are human. We have families. We have children. Like if people don't have the patience to wait until tomorrow morning for you to get them a response,
Yeah, I totally.
not my problem. Like it's a boundary that I've had to work really, really hard to set. And it's not, I honestly feel like too was like, I had to realize that, am I really giving people the best of myself if I'm responding to them when I'm super distracted because my son is yanking at my leg at the park? Or are they getting the best of me as a coach if I wait 2 hours until we're home and he's in bed and then I pick up my phone and I take the time to mentally respond to them?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally. Even if you've got someone messaging you, okay, I want to buy something. Like I used to be so bad. If someone was like, okay, I'm ready, I'd be like, okay, nobody tell me. Like all bets are off. I could be in the middle of anything and I would stop it. And that's ridiculous. They're not going anywhere. Like you have to start trusting in yourself and your how you help people, that it's not like an immediate response. The other thing I'd love to say about social media is, because sometimes I think our type of businesses get a bad rap, that we're just always on social media. Well, I have someone that lives with me that's constantly glued to his phone as well. I have a 70-year-old mother who, when we were away on the weekend, I had to say, like, do we need to have a no phone rule here?
Yeah.
Because everybody is so into it. So don't blame it on this business. We have to self-reflect and say, okay, what's going on here? I only need to be really on this phone to make a post. That's it. Like your message box is totally different. Take half an hour and do your message box and you don't need to be scrolling. That's like a personal activity. That's not a business activity. So I always get really kind of irked when people blame it on our business, because it's not that. It's personal. It's another personal habit.
Yeah.
Okay. Someone asked a question here, Dana. Stacy asked, what planner do you use? She's looking for a new one.
I like the High Performance Planner it's by Brendan Burchard.
Yeah, it looks
and
like.
I like it. I mean, I personally am not, it has hours of the day that you can mark things in. So if I have specific things, but that's not how my brain works. My brain just likes to dump it all in there. But I like that it has on the side, it asks you questions. So it says like, what is one thing I can get excited about today? If I could describe the kind of person I want to be today, what that word is and why. So it kind of like has a little bit of like a mental prep. So especially if you're somebody that doesn't really have a morning routine, it's a really good way to kind of like prompt yourself to get into that mindset for business with that.
I've heard
it. Also has calendars and kind of like check-ins for how you do the past week, of like what you can improve, what you did well, kind of rating your productivity, your energy, your necessity, all of that kind of stuff. He's very aligned with taking like high performance habits. So it's a good planner for that. I would just say you have to find a planner that you like that works for you, because I bought, a bajillion of them, but
yeah. I made an error. Is Justine on here? So Justine and I, one of my coaches, we bought Moira
Yeah, I bought that too. I couldn't, I didn't really understand the really small spots. I'm like, I'm a scribbler and like write everything everywhere. I can't,
Yeah, I'm gonna have to really dig into that one to find the love for it, I think. But I paid so much to get it to friggin' Canada that I'll be using it. I can tell you that. I'll be making it work. But like all planners work. You just have to work the planner. Yeah.
yes, I was gonna say, I think the biggest part is you have to have the vision, the clarity, the necessity, the urgency, because if you have all those things, you could technically have no planner and use a sheet of notebook paper and still be productive, really.
In the most successful years of my business, I used a dollar store notebook. Like, in fact, the 3 years I went elite, I never ever had an expensive planner. So there.
Same, same. I worked out of notebooks too. Yep.
Anyways, thank you. I don't think there's any more questions. Thank you so much. Like, I feel like there's just, I love when a new story comes and you share it. You shared it so well, so honest. And just your tips. I think they were really helpful for where people are just always struggling, struggling in this business and life.
I
So
have one more thing I forgot, and what you said about I don't know what you were saying at the end that you said you liked, but it reminded me of this thought of like one of the things that I feel like I've uncovered that I've been working on in this whole process is the ability to trust myself. I don't know if anybody can relate to that, but like if you need a day off and you need to like disconnect and not do your business activities and not look at your inbox, like I've had a lot of days like that the last couple years. Like sometimes you just need a day to like get it together, right? Or just like not feel responsible for anyone else except yourself and your mental well-being. Is that I have had to learn to trust myself that if I need a day or two off, that when I come back on Monday or I come back the next day, that I'm going to jump right back into those disciplined habits and taking action instead of spending those like 2 days worrying. Like, because I need a day off, I feel like I'm going to fail. I'm going to fall off track. Like, I'm not going to show up again. Like, we have to just learn to trust ourselves and know, like, if you need rest, take it, but also know and trust yourself that you're going to show back up again for it. And that's also been really life-changing too.
love that. It's so important for sure. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, you guys, make sure you tag Dana. What's your Instagram handle?
It's my first and last name.
Yeah. Okay. So make sure you tag her in all your stories, and me too, because I took no stories. And thank you so much. I so appreciate this. I mean, it's an hour of your Saturday morning when you could be sleeping.
I wouldn't be sleeping anyways. I wake up at 6:30, whether I have an alarm on or not. So I'm happy to spend it with you guys.
Well, thank you. We so appreciate it. Okay, you guys, thank you so much. Have a great weekend.